It's an exciting and often terrifying time to be a fan of RPGs, largely due to how exciting some games can look, only to find out that they've sadly been cancelled before we ever get to see them, especially those that seem to hover around the edges of reality, the games that we wish we knew more about. And I would love to say that the reason why there's no face cam today is because I too am hovering around the edges of reality, but the actual reason is because I'm still in an Airbnb. These, though, are some of the RPGs to put on your radar and keep in the back of your mind with hopes that they may actually one day materialize. First, we're going to start with two games, both of them kind of occupying the same space, Alkahest and Fatekeeper. I'm putting both Alkahest and Fatekeeper from THQ Nordic here in this first spot and their second spot because visually and mechanically they look to be channeling the same game, Might and Magic Dark Messiah. Visceral first-person fantasy combat with satisfying physics that'll bring out your inner bloodthirsty asshole that lives within all of us because you just have to crunch one more goblin against a wall or hack it in half with a giant sword. Maybe just send one more demon corpse flying into the abyss, screaming all the way down like that asshole Derek who'd always steal your fucking lunch. What's he gonna do with a salami sandwich? He already ate his damn lunch. Why does he need my Dunkaroos? Wait, what? I seem to have gotten myself lost here. Let's just move on to more information on the game. These two games, which are visually and mechanically similar with what I affectionately consider to be a kinesthetically minded RPG that put a lot of focus on immersive and satisfying combat, are coming from two vastly different places. One, Fatekeeper, is from THQ Nordic and developed by Paraglacial. You take the role of one of the druids to take on the vicious horde of monsters, working your way through ruins, dungeons, throwing goblins off cliffs, taking on vicious looking lizards, grotesque centipede creatures, and this hungry little guy. Everything about Fatekeeper looks like it is designed to be visceral and visually stunning. Combat, whether you're using magic to throw barrels, cutting heads into, or setting things on fire, is designed to get you close, but that's really all we know. We know it won't be an open world exploration game as it will have a driving linear narrative. It'll have a complex combat system and build system to take on the challenges you face, and you'll be blending sword and magic combat. No release date, no further deep dives, just this brief little trailer that we only got a couple days ago. Alkahest, on the other hand, we know a little bit more about the story. In the game developed by Push On and published by Hype Train Digital, you take on the role of the youngest son of a petty lord of the Kingdom of Kedinor. You're no hero, just a petty son out to investigate the unusual goblin raids on the country's border, where you'll explore castles, forests, villages, run from tentacles, throw goblins into traps, and build up combos to execute on your enemies. Alkahest, perhaps even more than Fatekeeper, is leaning deep into the first-person visceral action combat RPG of Might and Magic, where you leaned into environmental combat, like utilizing cliffs, walls, and trees to devastate your foes, throwing them into existing traps. Alkahest will, however, not include any use of magic. Instead, you'll be using alchemical potions and relics for the less grounded parts of the game. This game has been high on my wish list for a while now, and if I were to pick between the two, Alkahest gets the edge just because it looks more interesting and seems to lean more heavily into that said environmental combat with all of its awesome disruptibles. But it also has bigger question marks. This is the first game from this studio, and we know very little about them. It's fitting that a game using so much alchemy does still have the potential to be nothing more than smoke and mirrors. Our second game, well, are you ready for some freaking whiplash? Because I don't think I could have jumped to a more different game than if I'd tried. Our next game forgoes the visceral trauma-inducing combat and stunning visuals for a much more grounded approach. A table.
Deep within the ancient Verduran forest of Larian, in a treacherous swampland known as the Dragon Fen, there is a tale about the dragon tyrant Anterra, slain 1,000 years ago by a band of heroic warriors. But victory doesn't last forever, and enemies shall eventually rise again, calling forth new heroes to embark upon a perilous quest to save a town and defeat he who would once more call himself the Dragon Tyrant.
Pathfinder: The Dragon's Demand is a Kickstarter RPG that looks to recreate the tabletop game in digital form. Not exactly novel or new, as there are several games that try to do this with varying levels of success. What I found the most interesting and perhaps somewhat disappointing about this game, though, is that it is actually a single-player turn-based CRPG. You'll be playing through a campaign developed by veterans of Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights, using Pathfinder's 2nd edition rules, all based on the Pathfinder module, The Dragon's Demand. The game is officially licensed by Paizo and is being made by an indie team over at Ocean Studios, with a mixture of extensive modding experience and game dev experience, who clearly have a love for CRPGs and are looking to bring the unique take on the single-player RPG to life. Well, kind of still not moving very much life, but still life. Bringing forth 16 classes, 8 levels, hundreds of NPCs and quests, and a party you form with up to 3 companions that will take on these tabletop challenges with virtual dice rolling across your virtual board, all together alone, but alone, not with your friends, just solo, because it's single player. In concept, it sounds really intriguing, but I can't help but think that that single player aspect might end up being an Achilles heel. I love the idea of a single player RPG like this, don't get me wrong, but it just feels so tailor made for a 2 to 4 player co-op, using this like kind of lower investment in graphics and storytelling and things like that by using the virtual tabletop feels like it's just ripe for that ability to have that experience with your friends. And after playing Baldur's Gate 3 as a co-op, I really wish more campaign-based games like this would do so.
The things that are from their mouth.
What's on their face, BB? What's on their
testicles. The ones that are like the moving stuff, that's why they look like octopus, right?
I do think those are testicles.
Huh?
God. Just
Well, it's because what did he say? He said 10 tentacles, right?
yes.
But isn't that what you? I mean, like I have that. Right?
Oh my god.
But it's the one
I'm so confused now. Is it? Wait, what's the word then? Hold on. Maybe I have to research this.
Do not, please.
Can give you the
Please, for the love
So-
of God, do not Google testicles.
Are you sure?
There's been little news since the game ran a successful Kickstarter last year in September, outside of a few small updates on things like the character creator options. No release date, with that still likely a ways to go until we see the final game. Our next game seems to ask the question, what if Skyrim was made with pixel art? Honestly, it'd probably have fewer bugs. World of Anterra. It's just got this epic but cozy feel to it, handcrafted with care to give people an immersive, cozy RPG to jump into. You can even feed the farm animals. Did he lure that pig in to become bacon? Oh shit. World of Anterra is being created by indie team 81 Monkeys and is a single player and co-op open world RPG that is inspired by both classic and modern games. It's billed as being a highly interactive, non-linear open world RPG with an endlessly explorable world, deep progression systems, fast-paced combat, and rich lore. It talks up how NPCs will live out their lives going through routines, follows a non-linear story full of adventure, and uses conversational dialogue with every NPC. In a lot of ways, this feels like a companion game to perhaps one of the greatest indie games of all time in Stardew Valley, which for many was primarily a romance and farming simulator, or your platform to launch your voice acting. I'll do voices until I can't do voices anymore. Hello, you. Oh fuck no, that's no. Oh, it's Lewis. That's not Lewis's voice, but no, it's not now because that hurt. Hey, so you're the new guy, huh? Cool. Hurt my throat. Okay, it's maybe not my platform too. But for me, it sparked this interest in pixel art RPG combat and exploration. World of Anterra has been posting steady micro updates in their Discord dev updates, but with no major announcements for over a year and no release date in sight. We're still in an indeterminable amount of time away from getting to see just what this game is all about. Our next game is actually a lot of games. It's basically all of the upcoming Dungeons & Dragons games. Games that honestly over the last decade or so have more often than not been misses rather than hits. Mobile games bloated with microtransactions, MMOs bloated with microtransactions, PC games bloated with bad decisions. But when they hit, they do really hit. Wizards of the Coast won't be replacing the magic of Larian anytime soon, but it doesn't mean they're not trying. There's only one problem. We don't know shit about any of these games that they're working on. Well, I mean, a couple little things, but not much. Just really that they are working on these games. As far as we know, there are as many as 5 Dungeons & Dragons video games in various stages of development from Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast, working with different developers. Someone over at Hasbro saw dollar signs in the video game industry after Baldur's Gate 3 made a lot of success, so they really just dove in with both feet. Makers of the disastrous Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance game, Invoke Studios, is getting another crack at it. Cool, I guess. And they're creating a AAA RPG for the game. They will get to create a new RPG in the D&D IP. For all its flaws, I had fun playing the prior rendition of the Companions of the Hall from this developer, but it was fatalistically flawed with 2 things: terrible bugs and a lack of interest in fixing them. Enemy AI shipped broken for ranged classes, difficulty wasn't really well done, and one could argue the gameplay loops so clearly designed around live service were a terrible idea from the start. In essence, it was kind of like Anthem. But hey, second time's a charm, right? This is the one perhaps I'm the most nervous about. There's also a D&D survival RPG life simulator being developed by the studio who made Disney Dreamlight Valley. There's a VR game being made by Resolution Games, and there's perhaps the one I'm most intrigued by. Stig Amason, the director behind Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Survivor, and God of War 3, is hitting the ground running with his new studio Giant Skull, taking on the legendary D&D IP. The hope here is that he doesn't use all of that runway to slam headfirst into a wall of performance issues or something else. Amundsen's new D&D game is going to be the first game developed by Giant Skull, and it will be a AAA single-player action RPG being built in Unreal Engine 5, a D&D game that the best parts of Jedi Fallen Order is fucking drool-worthy, as the Jedi games are some of the best Star Wars games ever made, at least in my humble opinion. I mean, who doesn't love this? Why do I find this fun? But I do. I don't know why, but it's fun. The last bit on D&D here is that Hasbro has also hinted at Baldur's Gate 4. When Larian bowed out, Hasbro needed to figure out what to do with the series. Continue on with a new developer, or let it sit in relative obscurity for another decade or so until another Larian or BioWare comes on. BioWare, who made the original Baldur's Gate, and Larian are not dime a dozen studios. Finding a team that can do justice the way BioWare did when they made the original games, or Larian when they took the risks that Larian did,
all about choice and consequence, Larian.
I think they want to leave.
Okay.
I see a lot of twos. No, one for sure.
It's one. Don't apologize. I like it.
You like it? Are you certain? It will.
Look. I mean, at this point, it's not our responsibility anymore.
Yeah, no,
That is
you
clearly-
did this.
We have given every single opportunity.
I mean, it's still me pressing the buttons.
All right. All right. Woo. Well, I'd like to say that we didn't expect this particular path.
Yeah.
We actually did expect that one. So that was when we said spectrum, we meant it. There's a very wide spectrum. There's much more for you to discover. We don't want to spoil a lot. There's lots of moments of tenderness. There's lots of moments of silliness. There's lots of moments of fun to be had when you're going to be playing BG3.
well, it's going to be very difficult, but at the very least they have Larian's blueprint. Back in March of 2025, we were told he would be hearing about the future of Baldur's Gate in pretty short order. I guess Hasbro's idea of what short means is not the same as mine, because 5-ish months later, we're still waiting. They struck gold when they licensed this game to Larian. Doing so again is going to be difficult, and any extra time and care taken is a good thing. Vetting as many studios as possible, especially in an industry that seems hell-bent on cutting as many corners and talented people as possible. Speaking of Larian, let's give an honorable mention to a game that is just too far away. Larian's next game, or games. A lot of signs are pointing to potentially a Divinity Original Sin 3, as they want to work on their own IP, which pretty much cuts off any established IPs that people have floated from more D&D to Pathfinder to freaking Star Wars. But one thing is certain, Larian's next game will be possibly the most anticipated game to come for years. The best info we have is possibly 2028 or 2029 at the earliest, although that could just be Sven Vinka fucking with us. It's really just all aspirational. We're in the ready when it's ready pattern here. One more honorable mention has to go to a game that we should know more about, but we don't know more about, and that's Fable. Every few months pass, and I expect to get some new cover story or some really direct about Fable, and yet we don't have shit. For an RPG releasing in 2026 that was actually originally supposed to launch in 2025, we still have unanswered questions steeped in rumors about character creators, combat, depth of choice, and so much more. We've seen snippets of gameplay from a few blink and you'll miss it fight scenes, and well, of course, chicken kicking, and we've also been spoiled with tons of top tier cinematics with the trademark British humor the series is known for, but that's kind of it. keeping in mind that this is a brand new studio taking on Fable that has not made it before. At this point, we know far more about games like Blood of the Dawnwalker, so here's hoping we get a direct soon to enlighten us all about more of Fable's details. And speaking of that lovable little Geralt the vampire that's also known as Cohen, check out this video right here to learn a bit more about another RPG coming in 2026, Blood of the Dawnwalker, the open world vampire RPG from former CD Projekt Red devs.